Welcome, everyone. This is Michael Gibbs. I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Careers, and I'm here with you as I come with you several times per week to answer any type of cloud computing career questions you may have. Perhaps you desire to be a cloud architect. Perhaps you desire to be a solution architect. Perhaps you desire to be a cloud engineer. Maybe your goal is to be an enterprise architect. Whatever tech career you desire, that's why we're here to help you build your best technology career. So, and we come here so you can ask us any questions that you like. What should I learn? What should I study? Certification, should I get them? Will they be helpful for my career? Will they be harmful for my career? The kind of things that should be on your resume. Whatever it takes to help you guys all get cloud hired. Because many of you know that half of the world is out there focused on getting people certified, and then they stay there and they never get hired. And we're focused on getting everybody hired, cloud hired, not just certified. Sure, we get people certified, but that's easy and that's nothing. Anybody can do that. But we're experts at getting you cloud hired. So ask us any type of career questions you have so we can help you build your best technology career. And that's why we do this. Before we begin, let me tell you about some free things we're doing to help you build your cloud computing career. We are going to have a completely free mock interview session. You'll come on and I will interview you the way I've done thousands of interviews in my career, and I will let you see if you're ready for the job you want. Could be a cloud architect job, could be a cloud engineer job, whatever the tech job is that you're looking for. We will give you an interview and we will tell you if you're ready. So please, by all means, register for the next mock interview session. It's going to be on the 25th of the month. It'll be a great time because you're going to learn what you know if you're ready or not. You'll get to see what your competition is ready or not. And like they say in the art of war, know yourself and know your enemy or your competition. You'll always be victorious. I want you all victorious. I want you all cloud hired. So join us in the completely free mock interview session. The link is in the description below. Now, guess what? I'm going to tell you about something else free that we're going to be doing. In June, we're going to be doing a completely free bootcamp. It's either going to be an Azure Solution Architect Expert or a Google Professional Cloud Architect. Which one it is? Vote. Let us know. And I'm just going to teach either one. I'm happy to teach either one. I love the cloud. I've been working in networking, cloud computing now since 1996. So for me, it's all which one. I'm happy to teach any and all. I just want you all getting cloud hired, having a fantastic job. So vote on your next bootcamp. The link is in the description below, and we will announce who will win next week, and it's going to be fun and exciting. So subscribe and hit the bell if you're not already a member, so you can be a member of the channel, and when we produce this content, you'll even be notified. So let's talk about 50% off of our Cloud Engineer program right now. And this is going to go really, 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 really fast, but temporarily with the launch of our new Cloud Engineering program, I like to get 1,000,001 people cloud hired. So temporarily, for a very, very, very short time, I'm allowing 50% off in the Cloud Engineering program, and it's going to end in about a week or so. So if you wanted to be a cloud engineer while it's so cheap, this is your chance. This is the best opportunity you're ever going to get cloud hired for such a low price. It's literally speaking right now, our cost is literally less than the average cloud engineer earns in a single day or right at it. So take advantage of building yourself a beautiful career for a single day's cloud engineer pay. Right now, 50% off. And if you want to be a cloud architect, we get people cloud hired every single day. Last night, one of my students, Sean, just got cloud hired as cloud security architect. And we would love to train you in our cloud architect career development program. Every day, one of my students gets cloud hired. Totally impressed at how many people we got hired. And we're so excited about this program. And you can have this course at 20% off. My team will post a link to this course as well as a 20% coupon. But get that or get the engineering course. Get that engineering course before that 50% coupon expires in about a week. And then we will never, ever do another 50% sale again on a program like that because it's going to be an established program. So take advantage of the sale now. So please ask your questions. We want to be able to help you get your first job. So ask us your questions. We'll answer them. When you ask your questions, please be as clear as possible so we have the right information. And if we don't have the right information, what we'll do is we'll ask you clarifying questions because I want to know for sure we can actually help you. So ask your questions, and if you're having a good time, hit the like, comment, and subscribe button, please. Chris, actually tell us where you're at with a hashtag in your geography location. I can tell you right now, I'm in Port St. Lucie. I can tell you right now, Alonzo's near Texas, and I can tell you Chris is in near St. Petersburg, Florida. So tell us where you're at in the chat box. Ask us your questions, and Chris, bring it in. Right here, right now. Wow, that was a great song from Van Halen when I was in high school. Wow, I wonder if you were thinking of that when you made that. Hi, everybody. Chris Johnson. And here we are. Yes, we were on one thing. I got to interview Andrew Bittner, as CEO of HomeDell, really interesting, dynamic guy. And now we're here answering questions. We're thrilled to see you. Praveen, good morning, everyone. Praveen, I got your message this morning, and I would so love it, but with the leadership days. But I so want to do something like that with you very soon. So thank you so much. Yes, let's get those questions ready. I had 4 cups of coffee this morning, and I am ready to answer questions and bounce off the walls. So let's ask some questions.
We can tell you had the coffee, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to pop in. I was wondering if I was the only one that was noticing it, but yeah.
No, I had lots of coffee. My brother, who's my best friend in the world, was the best man at my wedding. My favorite person outside of my wife is visiting me from Philadelphia. So I had a bunch of cups of coffee this wedding because we started out a little too late. I was up until midnight, believe it or not. Good morning, Alonzo. How are you? Austin, good morning. Let's roll. Yeah, I'm with you, Alonzo. AJ. Hello, sir. I am SAP Basis and HANA consultant, and I'm also working with AWS. What chance do I have to get a job in USA and Europe? AJ, you got to give me some information. For example, what do you mean you're doing with SAP? What kind of job have you done? What kind of consulting have you done? Are you an SAP consultant in the architecture side? Or are you an SAP consultant in the software side? What is your actual skill that we're actually talking about? And what are you actually doing with HANA? And also, what are you doing with AWS? Are you configuring stuff? Are you coding stuff? Are you designing things and presenting and selling? So we need a little bit of information to know what you're actually trying to do and also what you'd like to do. So getting a job in another country is based upon your skill. Is your skill a required skill? Is it a needed skill? So if you let me know what those actual exact skills are and exactly what you're doing, I'll be in a position to help you. But right now, let's just guess, because all I heard is the words SAP. And I think you're talking about SAP, the ERP manufacturing company, but I'm not completely sure because SAP is another abbreviation for other things. The reason I'm thinking HANA is because you mentioned SAP. But, here's the thing. I need a lot more information with regards to what you are and what job you want in the US and what plan you have to transition to get those jobs. So if you told me what job you wanted, I could say yes, absolutely, or no. For example, we're probably not going to sponsor an H-1B visa for somebody that needs to be a mainframe consultant. And truth be told, there's a lot of SAP consultants and HANA consultants, but in certain places, there might not be. There are vacancies in these places, so give us a little more information, AJ, and then we can help you. While we wait for AJ to provide us some information and clarity, Chris, so we can help him, let's see what other questions we have, and please ask them. Natasha, good morning. You're in California. So nice to see. I haven't been there in a little while. I used to go there every week, actually. Austin, what is the difference between a cloud infrastructure, cloud network, and a cloud security engineer? What is the workflow for each? You're trying to find a role that will let me program often. Well, here's the thing. Programming is, if you really want to program often, cloud engineering is the wrong career, Austin. It's a software development career is the career that you want if you want to program often. So in cloud engineering, there is some coding, but it's more like scripting, bash shell scripting, Python scripting. So none of those roles are going to include huge amounts of software development. Now, what is a cloud infrastructure, cloud network, and cloud security engineer? Well, the thing with cloud infrastructure is it could be a little bit of anything. So a cloud infrastructure engineer could be one of the following. It could be someone like I did in my youth, where we built the cloud for the cloud computing company. We manage the network, and a cloud is nothing more else than a network and a data center. And so to build the cloud, we've got to build a really strong network, big, bad routers and switches, hundreds and thousands of 100 gig connections between them, lots of lots of either OSPF and or intermediate systems to intermediate systems for the underlying IGP. Most likely, we're the people that are going to be dealing with the RSVP signaling, as well as the tag or label distribution protocols. Most likely, we cloud network people are going to be the ones that those of us that build the cloud will be setting up primary and explicit paths and VPLS links and all kinds of things, basically making the plumbing that makes the cloud work. So cloud infrastructure could be that. Could be. meaning the person that builds the cloud. Or a cloud infrastructure engineer could also be a cloud network engineer. And a lot of places call it cloud infrastructure engineers are cloud network engineers. Sometimes it's the same thing, sometimes it's not. So depending upon who the person is, what they call it, the infrastructure could be the person that designs the systems for the company, or they could be the people that configure cloud networking. So what is a cloud network engineer? Well, it'd be a lot like me. I'm the guy that sets up the BGP, the guy that sets up the OSPF, the guy that sets up the software-defined networking, the person that determines the IP subnetting and supernetting, the person that determines the route aggregation, the person that configures and designs the traffic engineering, the person that does the IP addressing and determining what goes where. So they're your cloud infrastructure and your cloud network people. And the reality is, in networking, there never was any programming at all in the past because, network engineers like me don't code. But recently, here's what you got to think. So the old network engineers like me would say, I don't know what a computer is. That's just a thing for me to use to plug my system into ping, telnet, and traceroute. But now the network engineers are doing some automation in their networking. So it's no longer a guy like me that goes config T, router BGP 12345. Network 10.0.0, mask 255.255.0.0, aggregate address 192, etc., etc. So we're not the people that are doing that. Now what we're doing is we are doing a little bit of Python scripting to automate some things. And there's even some DevOps automation in engineering in today's world. So, the cloud infrastructure, cloud network person, they're setting up the network. Now, what about cloud security, Austin? A security engineer focuses on security. What security? Firewalls, IDS, IPS systems, VPN concentrators, access control lists, identity and access management. Sometimes identity and access management is its own separate career. And the big company will always be separated from security, but in small companies, identity and access management will also be there. So again, in security, you're not going to be coding a lot either. So cloud networking, cloud security, very minimal coding. You'll do much more programming if you're going to be a generic cloud architect where you're basically the big picture person, or generic cloud engineer where you're going to be big picture person, and one day you're basically setting up a Linux instance or a Linux system, and when you're done that, the next thing you could do would be a Python script, and the next thing could be some Terraform. So these infrastructure, networking, and security roles are going to have the least amount of programming in the world because we're not getting involved with the actual software at all. We're making sure that we've got the systems that enable it. So I'm an infrastructure person. The thought of coding, to me, honestly, it would be one of the worst tortures in the world because my brain doesn't like that way. But, Austin, I like to go speak in front of a 10,000 person audience and write magazine articles. I have friends on the engineering side that are like, Mike, that speech that you do, I'd rather die than do that. And I'm like, well, that's okay. I like doing this and you like doing that. So together, we make a perfect solution together. So find a role that's going to make you happy. But if you're looking to program, infrastructure, networking, and security are going to be the least ones where you're going to get to program. But, Austin, the jobs where you do the least amount of programming in the cloud will probably pay you the most and give you the most career flexibility, if that means anything to you. Because the closer you are to programming, the further you are away from the customer. And the closer you are to programming, just understand, the lower your career will be. Because the closer we get you to the customer as an engineer, as an architect, by far the more career potential you have. So just kind of keep those in the back of your mind, Austin, and you're going to be great in every way. Great question, Austin. Please feel free to ask more. Chris, if you want to look for another one.
Yep, I was seeing if the other individual had responded.
Appreciate that.
With the next one up.
Felton Jackson, Marietta, Georgia. Haven't been there in about a year. I love Georgia. I used to go there all the time. Toda Don, good morning from Houston, Texas. Good morning from Port St. Lucie, Florida. Love Houston, Texas. Used to go there all the time. Henry, it's so good to see you over there in Cyprus, Henry. Absolutely loving that. Cloud Hire, good to see you. And since you're in Cyprus, I'm sure you're learning Turkish. We have to teach you Greece. Kalispera, Henry, which means how are you, which kind of means like good day to you. And Kalimera would mean good morning. But you're in the afternoon over there. So good morning and Kalispera for you over there in Kipro. And I hope you're really enjoying it in Cyprus. Tom John, I am Collins. If your current job is not your current dream job, get another one. And your spirit is not there, what do? Build your spirit, raise your spirits, and get there. So here's the thing, Tom John. We spend a lot of time working. A lot of it, at least 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day. Some of us spend upwards of 16 hours a day working. And if you don't love what you do, you're going to get depressed and sad and have no energy and be lethargic and be miserable. And you're going to wake up and go, oh my God, I go to work. I got to go do this thing again. Ugh. And then when you're there, you're not going to be happy. And if you're with a company there where everybody's not happy either, then they're all making you all miserable. And then at the end of the day, you've got no spirit. So the key for me is fix your mind, fix your heart, and align your goals, dreams, and your plans all, and you'll get there. So for me, I've had jobs that I didn't love. I used to practice internal medicine, Collins. I'm not joking. I went to school for 7 years, practiced internal medicine. That was my job. You know, the truth be told, I didn't mind it per se, but I was tired. I wake up and I was like, I got to go to the office again. And I did that, but I was tired, but you know, I love tech. So 6 months later, I was working as a senior network engineer, and I said, you know, the heck with it. So the point is, you do what you like, but you got to find your passion. Now, Collins, you can't find your passion based on what a job pays. You can't find your passion based upon what somebody tells you is good. You have to find your passion based upon what do you love. So I've never read a fiction book in my entire life. I read nonfiction books. I used to read 3 books per week, every week for the rest of my life. But one time in high school, I read half of a book. Half of a book. It was with Tom Sawyer, Huck Finn. I can't even remember. But whatever it was, I thought Mark Twain was an interesting character. And Mark Twain had a quote. And he said, if you make your vacation, your holiday, your vocation, you'll never work a day in your life. And I really took that to heart. And I've got this friend, Mitch, who's like an old school 1960s hippie one day. And he said to me, and I was working as a paramedic, and I always had a lot of my things. And he's like, Mike, I love what you do, what you love. He says, you could be working at the hospital as a nurse right now. You're working on the ambulances because you love it. He said, like Mark Twain says, make your vacation your vocation. You'll never work a day in your life. And you know, here's the thing. About 25 years ago, when I was working in healthcare, I moved to tech. And in healthcare, we work long hours, trust me. But in tech, you know, the kind of roles I've had, you know, they were big roles where I was traveling 300,000 and 400,000 miles a year. So I worked some long hours, but I don't think I've ever worked in tech. I just really loved it. So take a step back. Take a week off if you can. Really plan out what is your dream. Map it out. Figure everything that you really want to do. Then see it in your mind. Visualize it in your mind. See it, feel it, taste it. Get there in your mind. And once you've seen it in your mind and seen the win in your mind, then build yourself a plan or get the right training. Find out exactly what you need to do. Figure out exactly where you are and fill in the gaps. One gap, 2 gaps, until you become the perfect employee or have all the skills for the perfect employee in your new job and get there. So take your dream, take your hope and your dreams, plan it out, build a plan, figure out exactly what you need to do in that plan, and then execute on that plan. Day in, day out, everything laser-like focused on that. Kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Kind of do that and on that. And then keep going. Fight, because it'll get hard along the way. So it's war. You compete until you win, and you never give up until you win. And then you know what, Collins? A year from now, you're relaxed, you're smiling, you're in your new career, you're doing what you love, and you're not so stressed anymore. So this is exactly the kind of way that I recommend living. This is what I did. I went from internal medicine to tech, network engineering 26 years ago, and it was the best thing I ever did. So you can do it too. So the reason you can do it too is why I'm telling you is build yourself your best life. There's nothing keeping you from doing it other than you. Don't hold yourself back. Go out there and follow your dream and get cloud hired. Collins, my students do it every day. I've done it. I've transitioned careers. I've helped people do it for 20 years, and I'm telling you, you can do it too. Don't let anybody hold you back. And one other thing, Collins, when you find you want to do something, don't tell your friends about it. Here's why. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. And you know why? Because they don't want to do it and they don't have the motivation. And when I told people I was going from medicine to tech, they all laughed at me. Actually, when I told people I was going to do everything I've ever done in life and succeeded in, they all laughed at me. But like Steve Jobs says, those that are the ones that are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones that actually do. So go out there, Collins, and build your dreams. That's my recommendation, and that's what I would do. Okay, before we move on, I see the banner is up. So if you desire to become a cloud engineer, take advantage of our 50% launch discount. And it's the first time we're going to do it, and it'll be gone very, very soon. So take advantage of the 50% off discount while it lasts. Chris, if you want to bring in the next one. And please, if you've got some questions, ask them. That's why we're here. Hi, Sammy. Love from the U.S., and I love that you're in India. Fantastic. I actually need to make another trip to India. I haven't been there in a little while. I've been teaching Ashtanga Yoga for about 16 years now. I need another visit to Mysore, and I got to go visit one of my best friends, Nagaraja, in Bangalore. So I need to get to India very soon, too. Love from India, love from the U.S. Natasha, is a career as a cloud architect a recession-proof job? Well, Natasha, here's the thing. There is no such thing as a recession-proof job, but I'll tell you why cloud architects are much more recession-proof than others. I'm going to tell you this right now. So here's one of the things that I would suggest. The reason cloud architects are somewhat recession-proof, Natasha, is as follows. A cloud architect is not a techie, even though people seem to think they are. A cloud architect is a digital transformation specialist. So in a good economy, Natasha, employers need us. And in a bad economy, they need us just as much too, and I'll explain to you why. Now, if we were back-end engineers, these are very critical jobs, but in a recession, they often get cut. But sales and architecture roles generally don't get cut in a recession for these reasons. So, Natasha, normally speaking in tech, in a good economy, businesses say invest, 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 and it's a field day and it's exciting for us. And why are the companies investing? To grow. Now, Natasha, right now, we've got some stuff that's going on that's a little scary. We've got some of the highest inflation in well over 40 years, and it's sky-high inflation. And it's not just, consumer-based inflation, employer-based inflation. Wages are up, I think it was 9.32% year over year, which is sky-high. Supply chains are disrupted. Parts are getting in there. Fuel's becoming expensive, which is really putting a drain on the economy, making it hard to get things from point A to point B. We've already had our first negative quarter of GDP growth, and if we get one more, we're in a recession. So, Natasha, things are looking pretty bad in the U.S. economy right now. But here's the thing. What happens in a bad economy, Natasha? In a bad economy, businesses say, hey, we need to save money. And Natasha, how do businesses save money? They reduce their staff. So, Natasha, what is more expensive? Maintaining a team of 500 CCIs, network people, and data center people, or paying a little too much to use your services in the cloud? The cloud becomes cheaper. So in a bad environment, more cloud architects are needed to go from more costly but higher functioning and more capable data center services to the cloud, which doesn't perform as well, but it's cheaper and it's more agile. So in businesses and recessions, we do more migrations to the cloud. Now, what else, Natasha? As prices go up, as employee wages grow up due to inflation, if employers can afford to and raise their prices, then they raise their prices and we have more inflation. If employers can't afford to raise their prices, Natasha, because they don't have what's called price elasticity, which is usually what occurs, then, Natasha, recession means employers do layoffs. Layoff. So they then call their next cloud architect and say, hey, Mike, we have to do a layoff. Can you help us use some technology that will enable us to run with 50,000 people the way we used to run with 60,000 people? So poof, Natasha, now the economy's really bad, and now they bring the architects in to help the businesses save money. What processes can you do? Which people can you get rid of? Which automation? So, Natasha, good economy, we get called for designs, build stuff. Bad economy, guess what happens? They ask us to go design ways to lay people off or help reduce costs, communications, collaboration technologies, etc., etc. So, Natasha, if you're good as an architect, and by being good, I mean you've got good, strong business acumen, CXO relevancy, leadership skills, good sales skills, good levels of emotional intelligence, presentation skills, ROI modeling, etc., etc., etc. If you've done those things, Nastasha, and you've got the network and the data center and the automation knowledge and the applications of business, the cloud architect is a person that can save businesses hundreds of millions of dollars by using technology to replace people. So in a bad economy, Nastasha, they also want us more. Now, Nastasha, the reason we're also secured for the most part in a good economy is as follows. Not so for the engineering people, and I love the engineering people, but I'm going to show you why in a bad economy the architects are more needed than the engineers. So now the economy is bad, Nastasha, and someone calls me and says, hey, Mike, I need you to come. I need you to figure out how to help me do more with 10% less people, Nastasha. So I go to the customer and I design a solution that cost them $100 million, Nastasha, and it's going to save them $300 million a year in people costs. And it's only going to cost $100 million in tech. And Nastasha, we do that as cloud architects all the time. So now, Nastasha, I sold a $100 million deal to the customer. Woohoo! I brought in $100 million to the company. Now in a recession, I just brought in $100 million to the company. So am I getting laid off? No, at all. I'll get even bigger bonuses and promotions because I'm bringing in the money. Now the back-end teams, Nastasha, the engineers, they get laid off in a recession. Not the best engineers, but the bottom tier. And here's why. You got to remember it this way. Architect brings money in. Engineers cost. Back-end people cost. Program managers cost. Software developers cost. All the tech people cost. Remember, sales brings money in. Tech people cost. So in a bad economy, what will happen is, generally speaking, the architects stayed the same. And in some cases, more get brought in. And we lay off the engineering team, percentage of the engineering team. So what happens is you'll have 80% of the engineering team doing 100% of the work. So the engineers just do more work, and more work until the recession's over. And then when the recession's over, we architects get called to make bigger things, and then we get called back in to help, increase revenue sales, and then we figure out plans to add more people to the mix all over again. So the closer you're tied to the money, meaning sales, architecture, sales, engineering, the much more likely you won't get laid off in a recession. But here's the thing, Nastasha. Not always. But the big companies, especially the tech companies, they generally lay off the worst people in the recession. So every company stacks ranks them, for example. So most companies, big companies, well-run companies have a plan to lay off the bottom 5% every year, the bottom 5 to 10%. Now, most companies, Nastasha, don't do it. But most companies rank their employees every year and they mark the bottom 5 to 10%. And what companies do is they wait till there's a layoff and they usually mark the bottom 5 or 10% and get rid of them. Now, Nastasha, that's not the case in something where an industry would change, for example. So let's say, for example, we're dealing with a hotel or a restaurant industry and you've got COVID. Well, that industry changed so much that good people are going to be laid off as well because, there's just the demand went from this to this. But generally speaking, in tech, the demand goes from this to this, and the people that get laid off are the weaker ones. So, Nastasha, here's the secret to being never laid off. Be great at what you do. Be emotionally intelligent. Have lots of good communication skills, sales skills, presentation skills, CXO relevancy, and the technical capability to do the job. And they can't afford to lose you, and they can't afford to lay you off. And here's the reason why. The thought of you going with those skills to the competition means you're making the competition stronger. So they generally don't like to get rid of their people that bring in the money that have got the leadership skills. They generally like to hold them. So it's more recession-proof than engineering, but nothing is recession-proof, Nastasha. And I know I answered that in the context of a whole lot of macroeconomic reasons, but I listed all these macroeconomic reasons to try and show you what goes on in the decision makers' minds of the people in the hiring companies, so you know how to build and plan and create your career. Wonderful question, Nastasha. Thank you for asking. And if you got more, please let us know. Michael, I keep getting calls for a cloud architect job, but the description is above my knowledge level. How should you respond to the recruiter? If I require cloud engineering, I'm not one. Michael, here's the thing. I don't care what's on that job description ever. Michael, I've never had any of the things that were in a job description ever. In fact, one time I had 10% of the skills that was in a job description. I've gotten hired every single time. Michael, job descriptions are ridiculous, and here's the reason why. We hiring managers know the job we want, but we hiring managers don't write job descriptions. HR writes job descriptions with some of the worst and stupidest things I've ever seen in my life. So in the first job I applied for, Michael O, they wanted 10 years networking experience. They wanted experience with this and this and this and this and this and this. And what did I apply? I didn't do any of that. I had zero experience, and that was for a network engineer. And then the manager hired me as a senior network engineer without it. I don't care what's on a job description. The job description to me is irrelevant. If people are reaching out to you, it's because they see something in your career that they want to talk you to. And in most cases, if the people are reaching out to you, it's because they know that job description is nonsense. And they see something on your profile that they're interested in. So I don't worry about job descriptions. Here's what a job description is. Hey, I need a network architect. I don't know how to write a job description, so what am I going to do? And I know that my network architect needs to be an expert on BGP and MPLS. That's all I care in my network architect. So I'm going to go to Indeed or a ZipRecruiter, and I'm going to cut and paste some 50-page job description because it looks really cool and compact. And then I'm going to add my stuff. And by the time I'm done, Michael, that job description asks for things that I don't have any desire for. So Michael, let me tell you why HR makes stupid job descriptions. HR makes stupid job descriptions because HR people are not technology professionals. So Michael, you go interview with HR. Can they ask you about what goes in an update message in BGP? No, the HR person doesn't know tech. Can the HR person say, hey, Michael, what type of LSAs exist in Area 0? Do you think the HR person is going to know what a type 1 LSA versus a type 2 versus a type 3 versus a type 4 versus a type 5 LSA? No, Michael. So HR can't do that. So HR can say, hey, are you competent by asking you questions? So HR does what I consider stupidity. They create a list of 5,000 years of experience required for every job. 3 Olympic gold medals just to begin. 40 years experience in Kubernetes that's only 10 years old. And they come up with these job descriptions that were wish lists and suggestions whatsoever. And then, Michael, here's what happens. A whole bunch of people that have 40 years experience reply to this job description. They get sent to the hiring manager, and we hiring managers say, I can't hire this person. 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 Here's the reason we can't hire any of these people, Michael. They know a little bit about a million things that list that job description, but they don't know their job or the architect job. So I don't care about what's in the job description. I'm going to tell you right now, if you're trying to apply for a job based on a job description, you will never get hired ever in your entire life. I'm going to say this again. If you try and build a cloud architect career by studying for these job descriptions, you will never, ever, 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 ever get hired because the HR person is not hiring you. He or she is writing up a wish list based on stuff to thin out the herd. The hiring manager cares, can you design, present, and sell? And that's all we do as architects is design, present, and sell. And it got so bad, Michael, and I know you've seen these articles. So it got literally so bad that chief information officers had to get involved and say, no more. These dumb job descriptions are not what we want. In fact, it's been published in CIO magazine. And if I can open it for you, I'll read it for you, Michael. I thought I read it for you in the past, but I'll read it for you again. Because we hiring managers don't hire people to do things other than design, present, and sell. And there are thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of stupid job descriptions that don't relate to it. Gartner started asking customers, what do you want in a cloud architect? I'm not joking. What do you want in a cloud architect? So Gartner asked CIOs, and they published it in CIO magazine. And Chris from my team will show you the article. So they started asking chief information officers, by the way, they sign your paycheck. This is your hiring manager. This is your customer saying, this is what I want. And this is what they said they wanted. We want a cloud architect that can lead the cultural change for cloud adoption, someone that can develop and coordinate a cloud architecture, and someone that can develop a cloud strategy and coordinate the adoption process. And then they said, hey, what do you want your people to do every day? And they say, help find talent with the necessary skills, assess application, software, and hardware, create a cloud broker team, establish best practices for cloud across the company, selecting cloud providers and vetting third-party services, overseeing governance and mitigating risk, working closely with the IT security people to monitor privacy and develop incident response procedures, manage budgets and estimate costs, and, oh, by the way, operate at scale. So this is your customer saying, this is what I want to hire. I want to hire an architect. They didn't say they wanted to hire a cloud engineer. Now, did you hear anything that talked about sysops, DevOps, Python, coding, infrastructure? Of course not, because we don't want that in our architects. And I'm going to tell you this, Michael. Every day, people go interview for these jobs and they get rejected. And here's how they get rejected. Come back when you have more experience. So the key is you have to be prepared for the job you want. And if you prepare for this job description, I'm going to guarantee you right now, you will never, ever get employed. And how do I know this? Well, we get somebody hired every day. Last night it was Sean from my school. And those people that study to be cloud engineers never, ever, ever, ever get hired, because if I want a cat, I'm not going to get a dog. Now, I love dogs. And if I want a dog, I'll get a dog. And if I want a cat, I'm going to get a cat. But I'm not going to go to the store to buy a tractor trailer and show up with a sports car. I know what I want. I'm going to hire it. So, Michael, I don't worry about job descriptions. They're wish lists that are irrelevant. I've never, ever, ever had more than 10% of the skills in a job description, Michael. And I've only interviewed on 5 jobs in 25 years. And guess what? I've been hired by every single one. And here's the thing. I was what the hiring manager wanted. I've never been what HR wanted. And Michael, I've been hired and promoted by companies and then been auto-rejected by HR on 2 of the 5 jobs that I've had, because HR didn't like that I didn't have any of those skills. But guess what? Who cared? I'd have been hired and promoted. So the key is, you are the role. And the role is about what you need to do. If they've got a list of cloud engineering things and you're not a cloud engineer, guess what? 1 of 2 things. It's either a cloud engineer job with the wrong title or that. So the key is, there's that. The cloud job requirement is always going to be above your knowledge level. Michael, the cloud job requirements are always above my knowledge level too. And they have been, and I can get anyone. So Michael, I could go get a $500,000 cloud architect job by the end of the day, but I promise you, I will never have more than 10% of the things listed on the job description. Because of that, I want to get the right job. Now, if you're trying to get a career in other questions, Michael, you can ask that question, and I can teach you how to switch careers. But if you want to be a cloud architect, study to be an architect. If you want to be an engineer, study to be an engineer. But if you study to be an engineer, you won't be getting hired as an architect. So keep that in the back of your mind. There is no such thing that's above anybody's knowledge levels. All job descriptions are above people's knowledge levels. Chris, if you can bring the next one in. Mohammed Ahmad, how can a junior network engineer with 0 programming experience transition to cloud networking engineering? Which roadmap would you recommend? What skill sets? Mahmoud Ahmad, a cloud network engineer is a cloud network engineer. It's the same skill set. So the question would be is, what kind of cloud network engineering do you do? Do you know BGP? Because you need to know BGP. Are you just used to tuning BGP, the BGP attributes, route maps, tagging, communities, etc.? Prepending ASs, changing the weights, the local preference, the origin code, the multi-exit discriminator. Those are the skills you need. You need IGP skills, such as OSPF. You need WAN skills, such as SSL-based VPNs, IPsec-based VPNs, software-defined networking, SASE, private lines, Ethernet over PLS, etc. You need to know switching things, such as spanning tree, rapid spanning tree, 802.1q tagging, etc., etc. Used to the things we deal with, like like Ether channel, link aggregation protocols, etc., etc., etc. Those are those critical things that you kind of need to do. So those are the things that you're looking for. Now, of course, you need to know DNS and ARP and proxy ARP, etc., etc., etc. So there's that. Now, you're asking about programming, and the reality is you probably never need to code in your life if you're a cloud network engineer. And here's the reason why. You're a network engineer, and network engineers don't code, but there might be some coding that you need. The same kind of Python that you might need to know in network engineering is the same kind of Python you may want to know for cloud engineering. And, Ahmad, when I started my career 30 years ago, we network engineers didn't script anything. But now network engineers write some scripts. So unless you're like a CCI like me with, a CCI number less than 10,000 like me, like my number, say 7417, back when it was a complicated 2-day exam before the Cisco made it easy because the fail rate was too high. So if you're one of the people like me in those worlds, we were the people that never learned any Python and never will, because our networking skills were used in different purposes. But if you're going to go do any kind of modern networking, you probably do need to know some Python. But, there is no roadmap for you. You already have the job. So sure, you can get something like an intro certification, like the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional or the Azure Solution Architect Professional, and that's it. And it's such an intro level. They're both super intro level certifications. That's why I can describe it, Ahmad, is the CCNP, which I consider an entry level networking certification. It's about 10,000 pages of reading. truthfully, I considered the CCIE to be entry-level networking, and when I did my CCIE, I only had 6 months experience, and that's when I considered entry-level, and here's the reason. Before the CCIE, I didn't know that much, and then after the CCIE, I still didn't, but when I got the CCIE, that's when I got placed on big projects where I got to learn. So for me, personally, the CCIE was junior level, intro-level networking, and after that, that's when I got to do the senior stuff. So be an expert on BGP, OSPF, and all those networking protocols that I told you. Also, while you're at it, get used to load balancers, because in networking, we typically don't deal with them, but they're very common in the cloud networking space as well. I would get used to virtual network appliances, such as, like the way you can, like a Cisco virtual firewalls, as well as like Palo Alto virtual firewalls, and what do you call it? Fortinet virtual firewalls and Checkpoint virtual firewalls. I would do that. But realistically speaking, what you're talking about, you're already doing if you're a network engineer. But, you've got to be a network engineer. Now, the network engineering that's required is somewhere between the CCNP and the CCIE, because at the CCNP level, they barely touch BGP. So it's not certifications that we're crazy for, but I'll tell you the CCNP certification would help you, because that would help you get from maybe a junior network engineer to like a regular network engineer. And that would probably give you most of the skills that you need. But do not do an AWS advanced networking. Do not do those Google Cloud Network Engineers or any of those things, because they're just too basic. Stick with the networking from Cisco or Juniper. Maximize the BGP, maximize the IGP, maximize the system design and engineering. Make sure you're really good at route summarization, route aggregation, and really tuning. So that deep tuning kind of stuff. Your route reflectors, your confederations, your traffic engineering, that's really where it's going to come down to it. Heavy duty networking skills. So the same network architect skills that I've had for the last 30 years are the same things I do when I'm a cloud network architect, because that's the same thing. Cloud networking 2022 is equal to Cisco networking 1985, pretty much in every way, shape, or form. Great question, Ahmad. And I encourage you to do cloud networking. I think it's fantastic. Love it. It's one of my favorite places on the cloud. So of course you can bring in the next one. Mr. Businessman over there in Atlanta. Good morning. Having your coffee now? Fantastic. You don't want to know how much I had this morning. 4 16-ounce cups. Can't you tell?
You didn't say it was 16-ounce cups of coffee.
Yeah.
A cup is 8 ounces, and in coffee, a cup is 5 or 6 ounces.
Well, then that's why I'm bouncing off the wall and feeling so good this morning.
Yeah. So in cups of coffee, quote unquote, 5 or 6 ounces. Let's see, 16 times 4 is 64. So you've had, you've had 8 cups of coffee.
I should do this every day. I have clear vision and focus like I've never seen before.
Wow. All right. Well, moving on.
Collins have made the first move by joining the team of Grow Cloud Careers. Well, Collins, can't wait to get you to your goals. That's all we do, is love getting people to get to your goals. So we'll help you get to your goals. And you're going to do fantastic. And I can't wait till you tell me you're cloud hired, just like Sean did yesterday in class. Can't wait to see your cloud hired date. Super, super excited. Follow the program, do it step by step, put all the effort in, and wow, you're going to have to do some things, and we're real excited for you. So wonderful, Colin. Can't wait till you're cloud hired. Almighty, what's your opinion of the Cisco Data Center Professional Certification? I think it's actually an excellent certification. Excellent, excellent, excellent. It's a CCNP. And reality is, I think, the data center professional, along with like a certified solution architect professional, is a good portfolio, because what our cloud architect, we take stuff from the network and data center to move to the cloud. So I often like a Cisco CCNP/data center along with a certified solution architect. I think it's a nice certification thing. But remember, Al, certifications do not get you hired. Remember, certifications don't get you hired. It's so important. I want to say it again. Certifications don't get anybody hired. So the key, Al, is to have 1 or 2 or maybe 3 worst case scenario certifications. And any certification training you do beyond that will keep you from getting hired. And here's the reason. It will focus on certification things, which are not what employers want. Employers want knowledge and capabilities. So I think it's an exceptional certification, but I never like to see more than 3 certifications on a resume. And generally speaking, I prefer to see 2. And almighty, when I deal with architects that can't get hired, and I see they've got like all these certifications, and they've got these CompTIA certifications, and they've got these DevOps certifications, and they've got these SysOps certifications, and they want to be an architect like you, they don't get hired with those certifications until we remove them from the resume, because the brand of the architect is a digital transformation specialist, an executive with good leadership skills, sales skills, and business modeling. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So if you get too many certifications, you're not going to have a good career. You're going to be relegated as the techie. So do you want to be the person that goes in, Mrs. CEO, I can save your business $300 million this year. Close that deal and have your company give you a 7-figure commission check? Or do you want to be the person that got an extra certification and it sits on the wall and you get relegated at the lowest level architect job to technical architect? You never get placed in front of the customer, and your salary caps out around 120 and no one will advance you ever. Where do you want to be, Al? So 2 certifications, great. I have multiple certifications. You know how many you'll see on my resume? 2. I don't list any AWS certifications. All I list is the MS, my MBA, my CCIE, and a Google Professional Cloud Architect. I don't have anything else on my resume because I don't want anybody to see them. Sure, I hope. I like doing certs. They're fun. But here's the key. You got to remember, what brand do you want? And I want the brand of an elite architect. I have no desire to be a techie. I am a techie, but I don't like the world to know it. Why? Because I love being a techie, but people pay non-techies a lot more than techies because we bring in business. So what's your goal career? My goal career is to be the world's greatest architect, not techie. So my goal to be the best architect is, how do I make my customers more successful? And I'll do anything to make my customers more successful. I don't care if it's a teddy bear, an ice machine, or a mainframe. And I picked the mainframe because it's old tech. But if I can put in a mainframe and it would save my customers $1 billion a year, and the mainframe cost $10,000, I would do it. So almighty, I want your creativity. I want your focus. I want your innovation focused on how do you make the customer successful. If you make your customer successful, this customer says, Al, help me make me be successful. They saved me $100 million. Hey, let me tell you about Al. Go call Al. And the next guy calls Al and they hire you. Now, wow. You got a brand. You get calls every day. Would you like to work for me? So, Al, I want that for you. I know you, Al. You are a really nice guy and smart. So you got 2 options. You got 2 targets in front of you. You've got a high value target that if you hit it, it's got long-term success to do this to your career. And you got this low hanging target and you can shoot it. And if you do, guess what? You'll hit it and it'll make no difference in your life whatsoever, but it'll make you feel good that you hit it. So which do you want to do? I want to hit the high value target and I want my career to go off like a rocket. So Al, 2 to 3 certifications, yes. Deep certifications, yes. But certifications don't get us hired. Competency gets us hired. What do hiring managers want? They want someone that can do the job, our job, not somebody else's. So studying for certifications for other people's careers makes us great at other people's careers, but people don't hire us to do somebody else's job. They hire us to do our job. Next, employers want someone they can trust. So be you, Al. You're really trustworthy, likable, so good. Next, what do employers want? Employers want the following. Employers want someone that knows what they know and knows what they don't know. And here's the thing. If you know your skills, not somebody else's, know what you know and don't know, you're better positioned. What else do employers want? Someone that's energetic, enthusiastic, and passionate about the work. They want that. Now, here's the next couple of things. What do employers want? They want someone called an energizer. An energizer is an emotionally intelligent professional that brings out the best in others. Guess what? Study emotional intelligence on average, it raises somebody's salary $29,600 per year. Over 30 years, that's $900,000, a lot for studying just simply emotional intelligence. Now then, we need to be CXO relevant. We need to be able to do an ROI model. We need to be present in front of a multi-thousand person audience. We need to be in the press constantly. These are our skills. We need to lead a team of potentially 50 or 100 cloud engineers. So those are our skills, and that's what the hiring managers care about. And those are the skills that do this to your career. So Al, what do you want to focus on? Focus on rising to the occasion or focusing on the low value skills that don't get you there? 2 certifications, great. 3 max, never more than 3. And don't list any associate certifications if possible on your resume either. But yes, I love the certification. And if you want to do just a certified solution architect and that, yes, just don't go crazy on certifications, Al, because you want to be an architect. Now, if you wanted to be an engineer, you could probably do 4 certifications and still look good. But beyond that, as an engineer, you're still going to look bad. Sashi Ahmed, what do I think about DevOps? Well, I think DevOps is here for automation. I think DevOps can enable people to automate things better, faster, and cheaper than without DevOps. But I don't know what you want to know about DevOps. So I don't know if you've got a goal with the DevOps or if it's pertaining to a career or you're trying to look into it. So what do I think about DevOps? I think DevOps is a great way to do things better, faster, and cheaper. But I don't really know what your question is. So if you want to clarify the question, I would love to be able to help you. So while we wait, please register for the next interview session on the 25th. It's going to be a fantastic experience. You'll know if you're ready to if you're ready to get hired for a cloud architect or a cloud engineer job by the questions we ask you, and you'll get to see what your competition is. You'll be much better prepared for building the career of your future. Lynn, what certifications do we need to start a cloud computing career? Lynn, we have to ask the question differently. What cloud computing career do you desire? So, Lynn, there's thousands of cloud computing careers and certifications, and the right ones can help you get it, and the wrong ones will make it not hireable. So, what do you desire to do first? So, for example, do you want to be a cloud architect? That's one roadmap. Cloud engineer, that's another roadmap. Cloud network engineer, different roadmap. Cloud security engineer, different roadmap. Cloud IAM engineer, different roadmap. Cloud IAM architect, different roadmap. Cloud DevOps engineer, different roadmap. Cloud maintenance person or SysOps, different roadmap. Cloud database person, different roadmap. So, Lid, if you tell me which one, then I can help you. Again, the certifications are not going to get anybody hired, and they're not going to build any career, but they are helpful with getting an interview, and they are helpful with certain things. So, Lynn, if you tell me your goal career, I can tell you how to get there, but it's going to be far more than certifications. And because certifications will not get anybody any job in today's world in the cloud, except for the junior level cloud admin, which is a very junior level. Here's the name, configure this. But even those jobs are going to be harder on certifications. So it's about, you tell me the career you want, and I will tell you how to get there. But I don't know, you just said cloud, and that could be one of 10,000. So it's kind of like going to the airport. If you said which airport should I go to, I'd say, well, where do you want to go? Meaning the Palm Beach airport by my house does not go straight to Cape Town, South Africa, but it goes straight to Atlanta, which could go to Cape Town. So, but I could drive to Miami and go straight to maybe the destination. So what do? We need to know where we're going to build a roadmap to get there. So tell me your goal destination, your goal career, and I'd love to help you. Hi, all. What kind of questions can a delivery manager ask during an interview? Well, a delivery manager can mean one of 1,000 things. So I'm going to ask you the kind of questions that people could ask. First, if you go to our YouTube channel, there are 20 videos of common cloud architect questions and the answers that will get you hired. Chris from my team can post a link to that. But the kind of questions that we typically ask would be, hey, you've got 2 equal cost connections to the cloud. How do you load share without getting out of order packets? Could you tell me the difference between block storage, object storage, and how they work and why you would use them? Could you tell me what type of a database I should use in the circumstances? I have a customer that's using 3 clouds, and I need to use a database that'll work with a flexible schema and synchronize and be in real time on all 3 clouds. The read activity is 4 times more than the write. You should be able to know the type of architectures, know which cloud native things won't work, which industrial kind of SQL, no SQL databases work because they need flexible schema. Look at the read-write patterns and determine whether you need like a MongoDB or an Apache Cassandra. If I said, hey, wait, we want to do streaming data across 3 clouds, and that'd be a question I would ask. What type of services could do? And we had hoped that you'd have the knowledge to know that you can't use Kinesis because Kinesis is AWS proprietary, that you could use something like Kafka or wrong things. I might ask someone, how would you secure an environment from end to end? And I'd hope that the person would know about the firewalls, the IDS, IPS systems, which are not covered by the AWS Cloud Native thing, well, along with what kind of access lists, security groups, what to do on the servers, what kind of services disable, host-based firewalls, what they look like, the anti-malware kind of options that you have, what kind of encryption, what kind of identity and access management systems you're using on and off the cloud. Those would be the kind of questions that we would ask you. How would you deal with a customer that's got a supply chain challenge for which they're not getting parts? How could you architect a solution around that? So if you can see these kind of questions that we're actually going to ask, they're related to the business side of the tech. How do you put the pieces and parts together? It's not going to be, hey, tell me how to configure this, because we don't configure everything as cloud architects. We design it. So it's all going to be design questions, and they're going to be based on explain the difference between a virtual machine and a container, how they work, why they work, and when I should use each. See, that's architecture. Okay, I need 3 connections to the cloud. I need guaranteed latency. I need this, and I need this, and I need this. What kind of thing can I do? I need to connect 1,000 VPCs. How can I do that in a scalable sort of manner? These are really the kind of things that I would ask people on a routine, and these are the kind of things that people ask. So you can see they're what's called application questions. And by that means there is no straightforward answer. You have to know how it works, why it works to be able to answer it. So kind of example I would give you. So if a person says, hey, Mike, what's AWS S3? I'd say S3 is a form of object storage, meaning it's a type of storage area network. And object storage is a unique type of storage where we have data, and the data is broken down into objects. What's interesting is when the data is broken down into an object, there's actually some metadata or data about the data that's placed on that object. And see why this is important is because we have data about the data, we can do some really cool stuff with the data. For example, we can query the data with things like an SQL query. We can search for part of the data, for example, because of that metadata. We can search for a range or a percentage of the data because of the metadata. We can integrate it into a big data environment because the metadata would enable us to integrate into data lakes, databases, et cetera, et cetera. Now, object storage is really so cool because of this. Object storage is good for software distribution. It's good for backup and archival purposes. Now, object storage is not normal storage. You can't mount it to a server like a regular hard drive, for example. So there's that. Now, object storage, because of the way it works, it's what's called write once, read many times. Because as soon as you use object storage, if anything happens to the file or the object, what's going to happen is create new versions, which would fill up your RAID arrays. So therefore, you can't use it for an operating system because the swap file, which is a memory file, that changed thousands of times per second, which would fill up your RAID arrays instantly. So object storage is used for write once, read many times. Now, that's the kind of thing that they're looking for. So they're looking to know that you understand it, how it works, because to architect it, it's all about the how and the why. And yes, you can get a cloud architect job with no experience. I have students that do it every day, but they're not entry-level jobs. The key is, that's why certification training doesn't get these jobs. That's why it takes us 500 hours of training. That's why I interviewed 1,000 AWS certified people before I launched this program to see if I could hire any of them, and none we could. And that's why our students get hired every day of the week, because those are the kind of questions that you're going to be asked. And you've got to be able to answer them solidly, with depth and strong knowledge, solidly. That's what they're looking for. So those are the kind of questions you're going to get. So don't expect a coding test. Don't expect to be configuring things. Expect that. Why should I use this technology? Those are the kind of questions you ask your architect. What is the impact on a business of going from capital expenses to operational expenses? Here's the thing. It could be terrible or it could be great, but you need to understand an organization's capital structure, their weighted average cost of capital, et cetera, to be able to answer that. So that's why architect jobs are great jobs. But as I say, you can't focus on the cert piece. You've got to focus on the knowledge piece, because the cert piece is the name of the service and how to configure it. for a junior level cloud admin, but we don't configure anything. So we need to train for our job and not someone else's job. And that's why we're so picky and critical in this thing. Yeah, just do it. That's the thing. Just like Nike said many years ago. Great point, Felton. Or Felon Jackson. What a cool name, by the way. Dana Marie, 90% of all architect positions are pre-sales. These are pre-sales jobs. Design, present, and sell. That's what we do as architects. Design, present, and sell. Say it with everybody. We design, we present, and we sell. We don't touch the technology, and that's why they're mostly pre-sales. Now, there are some post-sales positions. You know what we do there? We design the solutions, and we present them back to the management, and we convince the management to adopt them. And then we hand it off to an engineering team. And I've got one of my great ex-students here, Praveen. He is a wonderful cloud architect, works for one of the world's biggest banks, and he's a post-sales architect. But here's the thing, 99% of us are pre-sales, and pre-sales pays more because there's commissions and bonuses. So pre-sales is where it's at. And these jobs are all pre-sales programs. So I see the banners up. I'm going to remind you that if you desire to be a cloud engineer, we have a 50% discount on the cloud engineering program. And let me tell you, if you want to be a technical person and you love tech, this is the program for you. It's tech. We have so much networking. We were doing some BGP and some OSPF last week. We're going to a couple weeks of this. We're doing lots of cloud-based stuff, leadership-based stuff, Linux, Terraform, Python scripting. Oh my God, you name it, it's in there and it's deep. So for those people that love to be hands-on techies, and for a while that was me, it's a great program and you'll be very happy with it. So kind of keep in the back of your mind. So Chris, if you want to bring in the next question. Yes, Chris, and you thought you liked coffee. So I'm really lucky. My brother's here. I haven't seen him in a while. I stayed up a little late, so a little extra coffee. And almighty, yes, Chris is absolutely fantastic. Al, you are a lot like me. We'll get you exactly to your goals. And I want you to be happy and thrilled. Jay Don, hey Mike, can you do a brief overview what is meant by compute? Sure. So here's the thing, and they made up the stupidest term when they called it compute. Anytime you have something that does calculations, it's called compute. So about 50 years ago, they used to have people that actually did math calculations, and they called them computers. So what does compute mean? It means anytime you're dealing with a virtual machine or a container or anything that has processing power. So we used to call it a server or a computer, and that's really what it is. So what happened, Jay Don, is a server or a virtual machine is what we're talking about in terms of compute. Or it could be a container, and we all know it as that. And Jay Don, we've called it a virtual machine now for 30 years, and it's been great. But Jay Don, if I told you that I had a virtual machine for you, you'd say, thanks, Mike, and you'd know exactly what it was. But how cool is the term virtual machine? Well, to me, it's excellent. You know why? It's what an EC2 instance is. It's what a compute engine instance. It's an Azure virtual machine. It's a VMware virtual machine. It's an Azure virtual machine. It's an Oracle virtual machine. And guess what? That's what we architects call it. But here's the thing. If I call it a virtual machine, does it sound exciting? No. So if I told you atorvastatin, which is a drug, is that exciting? No. Lipitor. Oh, look at that cool name. So that's the thing. It's the same thing. So what happened is the cloud provider said, I can't sell 40-year-old, 30-year-old virtualization technology and have people think it's cool and exciting. So I'm going to call it compute. So all that is, Jay Don, is a server or a container. Anything that has computational power or processing power. Anything that's got a CPU in it is compute. That's it. So it's kind of like, AWS made a really fancy press release last year. We have advanced networking that can do east-west routing, which means routing in between subnets. And Jay Don, it's like, okay, Cisco did that in 1984. They called it routing in between subnets. They didn't issue a press release 40 years later and call it a brand new technology. So it's kind of like that. If you take an old tech and give it a fancy name, it sounds cool and exciting, and you can charge more for it. So that's all that's meant by compute. Simply, it's got a CPU in it, or a central processing unit. If you've got more questions on that, I'd love to answer it. Chris, bring in the next one. And that was a really strong question. John Wick 825. Mike, it is absolutely correct about having a ton of certs in your resume. You'll be known as the jack of all trades and a master of none. That's exactly the problem. Nobody wants someone that's an expert in everybody else's job. They want someone that's an expert in their own job. And here's the thing, John Wick, and I'm so grateful for this. You got two pilots piloting the airplane. So but let's not go there. Let's say you've got two pilots piloting in the airplane. And for the people that think about the jack of all trades and the 100 certifications, I want you to think about this. Pilot one was a fighter pilot from the U.S. Navy who was in the Navy for 20 years. Then got a job working for United Airlines or American Airlines or Emirates Airlines, I don't care. Worked for them and as a senior airline captain. All they've done in their entire career is flown an airplane, and they've been flying the plane for 30 years. And you got another person flying the airplane. Now, this person was a doctor, hated it, became a lawyer, hated it, became an accountant, hated it, became a cloud architect, hated it, and now they're flying the plane. So you got this one guy that's done nothing other than fly the plane for 30 years and trained by the military. You got this other doctor, lawyer, accountant flying their plane. Now you've got two engines on the plane and one of the engines fails on both planes. Who do you want flying the plane? The doctor or the lawyer, the accountant that's flying as a hobby, or the U.S. fighter pilot that's got 20 years in the military where they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars a year training him or her, who then spent 10 years as an airline captain that's very senior, that's an expert? Well, I'll tell you one thing. I want the pilot flying my plane. I'll go to the doctor if I'm sick. I'll go to the lawyer if I need legal challenge, and I'll go to the accountant to do my taxes for me because I don't understand how they work. But here's the thing. I'm going to go to who I want, not somebody else. So John Wick, thank you so much for agreeing. And that's why I'm so cautious about being an expert at your job and somebody else's, because John Wick, that's how we have the best careers. By the way, love the movie. Love your screen name here too. Fantastic, John Wick 815. And Chris, if you want to go to the next one. J1, just to clarify, it's purely processing power, but the relevance in the cloud is user virtualization. So all computers do, everything that a CPU does is computations, right? Or compute. So in the cloud, it's either going to be a virtual machine or a container. Guess what your computer is going to be in the data center? A physical machine, a virtual machine, or a container. Your cell phone does compute. Why? Because it's a server. It's compute. So anything that's got a CPU exactly is compute. Virtual machine, container, physical machine, that's what they're always referring to. And it's not a stupid question. It's an excellent question. The reason the question is hard is because the cloud providers obfuscated the names of things. They took something that was so simple, kind of like driving a car. Here, I have a steering wheel, but not on the cloud. We've got an elastic rotational vector directional changer. I mean, they make up a term like that because it sounds cool, right? Well, not to me. To me, virtual machine makes sense because I know what it is. You take a server, you smack on a hypervisor, install your operating system, boop, you got it. So it's that. Great question, Jay. And Chris, if you want to go to the next one. Nastasha, may you have the article link or the title of the article about what the CI wants in a cloud architect? Absolutely. Chris from my team is going to do that. Or the reality is, I have that link directly in front of me, and I can even do it, Chris. And actually, but Chris already popped it in. So there you go, Nastasha. Chris did it even faster than me, which she usually does. Praveen. Well, Praveen, by the way, is a highly employed, highly qualified, one of the best architects I've ever met. He was our student. He was a big data architect, and now he is there. Yes, one certification is good enough to get you hired. And Praveen, you're obviously hired. And I get offers every day. I get so many offers that I actually remove cloud architect from my job title. My average student gets about 10 to 15 recruiter requests per day, which means they want to talk to somebody. So they're not worried about what's in the job description. They're worried about what's on their resume. That's what they're looking for. And yes, 11x certs are not really there. One main industry cert is good enough with the right training. One industry and one cloud cert. That's really the perfect blend. Ashish Sharma, how much programming experience needed to become a DevOps engineer? Ashish, if you want to think about becoming a DevOps engineer, you should be a real software developer first. DevOps is not a career for regular people to go into. This is a software engineer's career. So if you're a software developer and then you want to be a DevOps engineer, that's the right way to do it, because you need extreme knowledge of programming for this career. This isn't like, hey, learn a little Python, learn a little Bash scripting, and take a certification course and get a job. No, this is be a real solid software engineer, excellent software engineer, and then learn the DevOps tools. That's what it takes to become a DevOps engineer. Because remember, that's a programmer's career. DevOps is the merging of software development and operations. So you got to be an incredible software engineer to be a DevOps engineer. So unless you love DevOps for some reason, if you're not a software engineer, don't take on this career. Do something better, like a cloud engineer or cloud architect, where you can earn more money to do a job that's going to be more in demand. Now, DevOps is a good career. Don't get me wrong. It is. But if you're not a programmer, it's going to be so long to get, because you need such good programming skills for this job. And if it takes you 3 to 5 years to develop the programming skills and another 2 years, another year to develop the DevOps engineering skills, that's a long time. Where, you could be a cloud engineer and earn more money in 6 months. So, or 8 months of hard work. So it's up to you what you choose to do. And all these careers are good, but DevOps is going to be a tough career because of the level of software engineering that's needed to do it. It's a lot. It's a lot. Now, you can still do it, but keep that in the back of your mind. This is a software career. So you got to be good at software. It's not like these architecture careers, which are design, presenting, and selling. This is a deep engineering career that requires deep software development knowledge, because what this career is, it's about improving the software release cycles. So you got to be an expert software developer to really know how this stuff works. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. But it's a good career for those that really love it. And I have to say that I think DevOps is an excellent career for a software engineer. And here's the reason why. It partially gets them out of software engineering, which I think is a really rough career to have, because of the quantity of people in there and the amount of work that can be placed on a software engineer. So it's basically the way to get out of software engineering into a hybrid of operations and engineering. I think it's a great career for software engineers. Excellent career. But make sure you're a good programmer if you want to do that career, because this is a software engineering career. Software development and operations career combined. Good question, though. Starville City, you're a salesperson and want to further your sales career in this industry. You just got your CCP. What do you think I should do next? Well, what do you mean you're a salesperson? What kind of things have you been selling? And that will determine it. So Starville, the question becomes is, what kind of sales have you done? And what I mean by that is, it's one thing to sell a car, and it's one thing to sell a house. When we sell cars and houses, we're dealing with consumer budgets, and we're dealing with emotion. Imagine how good you're going to feel looking at driving down the road in this car. It's emotion. But when we're dealing with these kind of sales, it's not emotion. It's very consultation. So in order these sales, because remember, we're going to be selling things upwards of billions of dollars. So our sales are about something different. So for sales here, you're going to need extreme business acumen, which means you're going to have to be able to look through a financial statement, read through a balance sheet, read through what industry analysts are saying, and be able to look through that. So that's going to be critical. You must have the gravitas or executive presence to be able to get in front of a billionaire CEO and talk to them about improving their business. You're going to have that. You're going to have to know what to say to the CEO versus the CFO versus the CTO, etc., versus the VP of IT versus the hiring managers versus the engineers. And you will have to communicate to all of them. You will have to have the presentation skills to present in front of 5,000-person audiences, because you're going to do that constantly. You will need to have really good management skills. And here's the reason why. You'll be leading your sales engineer. You'll be leading your pre-sales architect. and you're going to be coordinating resources across the company. So you're going to have to know how to navigate companies with upwards of 100,000 people to get the right resources for the job. Now, Starville City, nobody buys tech because they like it, ever. So you will have to be able to talk to the customer, analyze their business, and be able to figure out what employees cost them, for example, because you're going to have to calculate the expected value of the solutions. Because if you design a solution that's $1 billion, and trust me, your architects might design $1 billion solution, you are going to have to be able to produce an ROI model with your architects that can show the customer the value of the solution is greater than its cost. Now, Starville City, the sales cycles that we're talking about could be a year for the right client. So long sales cycles. So you will need extreme leadership skills. You're also going to need extraordinary sales skills, and you're also going to need negotiation skills. So Starville City, believe it or not, I actually have a course that's designed to teach this. It's called the Tech Career Accelerator Program. And it was created by me and a sales executive that I know. And when I say sales executive, I mean like a chief revenue officer that leads entire sales organization that's been leading sales professionals for the last 20 years. Someone that runs the whole industry vertical at one of the world's greatest tech companies. And she and I made this course together. I made it so that the tech people could move into VP and CTO roles. And she made it so that the salespeople could basically move into bigger sales roles, manager of sales, director of sales, VP of sales, and move up. So we actually cover that in our Tech Career Accelerator program, which I'm going to have Chris from my team pop a link to. That's what I would do in the sales career. I would also fix that with the CCP. I would also do our free AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate Bootcamp, and here's the reason why. In sales, it's more about designing and presenting and selling, just like the architect. And when we do our certification training, our goal is not certification. I'm sure everybody will get certified if they do our program and do a practice test, but that's not our goal. Our goal is architectural knowledge and the how and the why. So if you watch the one that's on our channel, it's pretty efficient in terms of time. It'll teach you a little bit more of the business rationale behind it. And guess what? It's also going to teach you a little more about the stuff that we can use versus the stuff that we can't use. And that stuff is pretty critical too. So those would be the recommendations that I would have for that. But remember, the key is this. You have to be an objective party. So this is not like, we're selling furniture. This is my most beautiful couch. It's soft. It feels good. It's not that. It's like, okay, factually, okay, customer, you have 22,000 employees. Fully loaded salary per employee is $62 per hour. Therefore, your employees are spending this many hours doing X, Y, Z. So if this technology will free up this many hours, what can we do with those hours instead? The opportunity cost. So that's the kind of stuff we're talking about. And yes, I think the cloud place is a great place for sales. I have friends in cloud sales that are making so much money, having such a good time, and they love it. They were selling network stuff before. And here's the thing, that's how you sell tech. So that's what's needed to sell tech. And it is a great career. Strongly encourage it. Lazarus, hello. What is the foundation certificate to start as you want to be part of the cloud in this future, but you have no idea where to aim for? Lazarus, there's no such thing as a foundation certificate ever. So determine what career you want, and then we can determine what it is. So you want to be a cloud architect? Great. Cloud engineer? Great. Cloud network engineer? Great. Cloud security engineer? Great. Cloud network architect? Great. Cloud IAM architect? Great. Cloud IAM engineer? Great. Cloud DevOps engineer? Great. Cloud database person? Again, you want to be part of this and you're looking for a certificate, but you've got hundreds of different careers here. So we need to know which career you want before we come up with a certificate. Because here's a certificate for the JFK or the London Heathrow Airport. Where are you going? I don't know. Got thousands of planes going in every direction. Where do you want to go? So what's the certificate? What is the career you want? Your career determines what you learn. So a doctor learns different things than a lawyer. So tell me what you'd like to do, and then we can help you. But understand there's thousands of careers in the cloud, and they all require different knowledge bases. And while we wait to try and find out his goals or her goals, let's get to the next one, Chris. Quick Strike 21, is there such a thing as an entry-level cloud job? I want you to understand why, for the most part, there are no entry-level tech jobs, period, and why somebody should not ever try and prepare for them again. So Quick Strike 21, when I was a young bear, little child, and I went into tech, here's what we had. We had people that would rack servers into the rack and would screw them in, zip, 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 zip. And then we'd have somebody that would cable them up and plug them into power. And then we have somebody install the operating system on this thing and then install the applications. Guess what, Quick Strike 21? We don't have anything anymore. But the cloud, click 3 buttons and 3 seconds later, it's done. So all those entry-level jobs are gone. We don't install operating systems anymore. We click 3 buttons in the cloud and it's done. Things that used to take an hour are done in seconds. So there really are no entry-level jobs. So that's why we don't train entry-level anything for that reason, because they've almost gone away. So it used to be you had all these people doing all these junior level things. And Quick Strike 21, the people went to the crowd and said they didn't need entry-level people anymore, so they could get rid of them. Look, it's this way. We run our own cloud here, okay? Quick Strike 21, we have 10 servers in our cloud. It cost us $11,000 to build the cloud. Amazon wanted $400,000 to run our cloud for 3 years. Now, here's the thing. I have the staff to run our own cloud. And the staff is real cheap. Half of it's me. And the remaining 6 people that work for this company do whatever I need to get the cloud done. But because it's me, I don't have to pay $300,000 to a network engineer. I'm not paying $250,000 to a cloud architect. I'm not paying $10,000 or $100,000 to 10 different network engineers. I did it myself. If I had to run my systems on my own and hire the people, it would have cost me millions of dollars, not $10,000 or $11,000. It would cost me more than the $400,000 in the cloud. So I didn't need that. That's why organizations have gone to the cloud, to get rid of entry-level people. So what do entry-level people do? They plug in stuff and rack and install stuff. We don't need those jobs anymore. But don't worry, you can get hired. I'm going to tell you exactly what to do. Entry-level jobs are dead. In fact, we produced a video series about 6 months ago because the entry-level jobs are dead, what to do instead. That's why we created the Cloud Architect Career Development Program and the Cloud Engineer Career Development Program. These are not entry-level jobs at all. And generally speaking, they require either a ton of experience or competency. See, HR cares about experience, but hiring managers who we use care about competency. Can you do the job? So that's why we spend over 500 hours training our cloud architects and over 500 hours training our cloud engineers versus somebody else's 20 hours in a CERT program. Because there is no such thing as an entry-level job in today's world. And as the economy is getting worse, interest rates are going up. Inflation is terrible. We had first negative quarter of GDP growth. Entry-level jobs all go away then. So I don't expect you to see any entry-level jobs in the next 2 months, 3 months, maybe the next year or two, and potentially never again. So the key is not to prepare for an entry-level job. Don't do CompTIA certifications. Don't try and get a help desk job. Don't look for a support job. Get yourself a good job. And here's the thing, Quick Strike 21. Instead of wasting your time at the bottom looking for entry-level jobs, here's the thing. Prepare for a good job. Get a good job. And that way, when your friends are looking for their entry-level job, 2.5 years from now, they're still looking for their $50,000 US job. And you started a $110,000 non-entry-level job. So they've wasted 3 years looking for a job, which is $200,000 of lost earnings compared to what you'd be earning. And now they're in there. Now they've got their entry-level job, and everybody sees them as a junior, and they're pigeonholed there. And it takes them 10 years to rebuild the brand to go where you just went by studying the right things the right time and getting a non-junior level job. So my recommendation is stay away from entry-level jobs. Quick Strike 21, you know what my first job was? My first tech job, it was a senior network engineer. You got to do help desk, Mike. You got to do network admin. You got to do all this stuff first. Go an entry-level job. I'm not doing that. I'm going to start here by training for it. So eat right, think right, train right. So I don't start for entry-level jobs. You could if you wanted. I'm not the guy that's an expert on creating entry-level jobs. Here's the reason why. My students come to me so they don't have to take entry-level jobs. People come to me so they can start out with a $100,000 job, not a $30,000 or $40,000 entry-level job. And guess what? When my people get these jobs at 23 and 24 and 25, by the time they're 35, they're VPs. So don't start at the bottom. Start midway through. Start with a great job. Prepare for the job you want, and don't worry about starting at the bottom. Build the plan. Find your goal. Build a plan to get your right job, or take a program like ours and get a great one, not a junior one, and then reap the rewards for the rest of your life. So that's my recommendation, and that's what I do. And that's what I've been doing. That's what I did personally, and that's what I've been doing with my students for the last 20 plus years. Not starting for entry level such thing, because I don't think there are entry level such jobs anymore. I think they all went away because the cloud made it that we don't need them anymore. Chris, you can go to the next one. But here's the thing: if you prepare and learn the right skills, the network skills, the data center skills, you are going to do great in your career. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Alonzo Coleman, get hired with a strong agnostic cloud provider and let your employer pay for sites and the things you need to do the job. Yes, Alonzo, that's what I did. I did my CCIE. I did $250,000 of soft skills and leadership training, and the company paid for at least $150,000 of that. So yes, Alonzo, yes, yes, yes. Definitely, definitely, definitely get the strong cloud agnostic knowledge. Build the leadership skills to get the good job. And here's the thing. When you have the good jobs and you want somebody to pay for your $100,000 MBA, they'll do it. So get the right jobs, and then your employer will sponsor the best training. Excellent point, Alonzo. Chris, you can go to the next one. Felton Jackson. Understanding presentation is common for the role as a solution architect where you design the solution. When you design a solution, who exactly do you present it to? Oh, Felton Jackson, you present it to everybody. You'll be presenting to the engineering team, one presentation. You'll be presenting to the management team, a different presentation. You'll be presenting to the CIO, the CTO, the CEO, the CFO, and they will all be different presentations. So you have to know how to present every last one of them. You will also be presenting at large industry conferences. You'll be presenting at industry working groups. You'll be presenting at various sales conferences for your own company. So you're going to be constantly presenting. It's a life of presentations, presentations, presentations. So Fallon Jackson, for example, in my last enterprise architect job, what I did was created a reference architecture, which normally I don't believe in, but this was a reference architecture for healthcare based upon interviewing multiple physicians, nurses, and of course being able to practice medicine myself. And we designed this generic reference, which had like 1,500 pages of caveats. Don't use here, don't use here, use here, here. And they were all based upon the business requirements. What happened is, first, I started presenting it to the executives. The company would do what's called an executive briefing, and they'd fly in the CTO, the CFO, the CIO, the COO, etc., and I'd present to them along with the executives in the company. I would also present to the systems engineers, the sales engineers, and the sales reps, teaching them how to sell this new architecture or solution that I did. I would then be invited to go present it to industry conferences. Go speak at NANUG, Mike. Go speak at HIMSS. Go speak at this thing. Go speak at Networkers. Go speak at Cisco Live. So there's those kind of roles. Then I was on Cisco TV, or internally they'd have training TVs, and you'll be on Cisco TVs. So industry conferences, internal board meetings, presenting to the internal company to try and get, another cloud engineers to help you build the cloud architecture. You're going to be presenting constantly, CEOs, teams, technical professionals, non-technical professionals. And here's the thing, Fallon, you have to tune that presentation. So yesterday in class, we had me as the CEO, which is a role I'm very familiar with. We had one of my C-level executives, and we had some students. And we'd have one of our people that has a strong engineering background, one had a CEO background, and one obviously had a CTO, COO background, et cetera, et cetera. And we had the students present it. And we made them give different presentations for the people, because that's going to be what's required. If you say what you say to the engineer, to the CEO, you'll be kicked out of that room in the first 30 seconds, fired, and your replacement will say, thank you for the good job. And I've seen it happen. Likewise, if I gave my CEO presentation to a group of engineers, the company would say, bye, Mike. Thanks for talking about, top line revenues and expenses to all these engineers, but they hate you. So the key, Fallon Jackson, is to have the right thing that you say to the right audience at the right time. But you'll be presenting it to everybody. You'll have to meet the objections of the technical people that don't want it. You're going to have to reach the management teams that can say yes or no. You're going to have to face the executive teams like the CEO, CFO, CIO, CTO, because guess what? They have the budget to say, I'm buying this or I'm not. Kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Great questions, Fallon. Excellent, excellent question. What is the roadmap to become a cloud IAM architect? Good question, Asha. From where? Where is your starting point? So now that I know the destination, if you tell me your starting point, I can help you. But without knowing that, what I would learn is the following. I would learn the way operating systems function and how they do their authentication. So what are the ways that Linux would do its authentication, Mac OS would do its authentication, Windows, Linux, Mac OS. What about the phones and the way they do their authentication? Then I would become an expert on authentication systems. Active Directory, for example, TACX servers, Radius Plus servers, and all those other systems. And trust me, there are a tremendous number of those systems, and you need to know all about how they work. Then there's all these identity federations, which would mean lots and lots and lots of knowledge on the way identity federations, federating to share identity between organizations would be there. Critical stuff. Then I would get familiar with the IAM packages. There's packages designed to track information, packages designed to do this. I would get used to the one-time passwords, tokens, etc. So RSA secure IDs and calculators that change, such as Google authenticators. I would get used to, and I'd become a master in the way these token exchanges work in between entities, etc., etc. I would get very familiar and become an expert on the service account concept, etc., etc. Then I would get used to all the technologies that integrate into these systems, which is quite heavy. And to be well-rounded, I would also get some security knowledge. I'd learn a little bit about firewalls, IDS, IPS systems. I'd learn about locking operating systems down, etc., etc. So those are kind of the things that you need to do. But realize this is a cross between security and identity. Now, here's the other part of it. Because we're dealing with so much IAM, you probably need to get some good hands-on experience, at least to understand the way these operating systems work. Users, permissions, and all those other kind of things. So there's kind of those kind of things that you're really looking to do. And for the most part, they're the majority of skills. But you said architect. So remember, architect is not an engineer. So when you be an architect, because you're going to be presenting, designing, presenting, and selling, you're going to have to get some good sales skills, some good emotional intelligence skills, some good leadership skills, executive presence, ROI modeling, etc. Presentation skills, business acumen. Those skills are needed. So I'm going to tell you this, Asha, right now. Without those skills, nobody gets in an architect position ever. They're only engineers. So keep that in the back of your mind. That's kind of the roadmap. Jay Don, you're interested in our feelings on crippling imposter syndrome. You know those of us who are green and just starting out. Jay Don, everybody that's not a sociopath or a psychopath has imposter syndrome. And here's what it really is. It means you know in your mind and your heart you don't have the skills for the job. Everybody has it, and it's okay. So I'll teach you how to deal with imposter syndrome. I had it when I first went on. So here I am practicing medicine. Hi, patient. How are you today? Examine. Here's your prescription. Nice to see you today. And then I decided I'm going to be a network engineer. So I spend 6 months and I kill myself. 6 months later, I get hired as a senior network engineer. Now he's a network engineer. And Jay Don, I've never touched a router or switch, and I know nothing about these things. But now I've got this big senior network engineer job. And I went, uh-oh, I got to go work now. I got this big job and I've never touched the router before. This is scary. So Jay Don, what did I do? I was so uncomfortable that I literally was nervous and sweating and throwing up 3 days before the job out of fear. And my wife says, you look nervous. And I said, I'm petrified. What if they realize how dumb I am and I don't know anything? And I only know how to practice medicine. What am I going to do? Write everybody prescriptions all day? She starts laughing at me. She says, dear, here's how you're going to be more comfortable. She says, you're not going to be comfortable until you know everything you need to know. So here's my recommendation. She says, Mike, remember how you told me you can read 1,000 pages a day and you did it through school and medical school and nursing school and things? And I said, yeah. She says, do that. So what did I do, Jay Dunn? I show up on my first day of work. I bring $500 with me and I buy everybody in the team lunch. Take them out for lunches and drinks after work, and I get to know everybody. And here's the reason I did it. I wanted to build a relationship with everybody so that hopefully people would know me and like me before they figured out I was stupid and didn't know anything, because I was so petrified with this imposter syndrome. So then I found some people that wanted to study on a CCIE together, and we started doing it together. I read 1,000 pages a day every single day. for 6 months straight. My imposter syndrome was gone. So anytime I do anything that I don't know, I get imposter syndrome. And I believe imposter syndrome is what good people feel when they know they don't know something and they're uncomfortable. So learn more. And here's the thing, it'll go away. I promise you. It's hard just starting out because there's so much out of there. And here's the thing, Jay. What you're talking about is what good people do. Now, I'll give you the exact opposite. I literally spoke to a 20-year-old at a yoga studio the other day. And this 20-year-old that I spoke to in a yoga studio was trying to convince me this controversial medicine was the cure for everything in the world. And I said to the person, I said, so when did you become a doctor? I'm not a doctor. I saw a YouTube video. I'm an expert on this. I said, how long was the YouTube video? 17 minutes. I watched 17 minutes of video. I'm an expert. And I laughed. I said, so what would you say to people that went to school for 15,000 hours that would disagree with you for this? They're wrong. I watched the YouTube video. And I said, okay, that was a sicko. That's the sociopath that doesn't know their limitations. So Jadon, it's good to have imposter syndrome. It's your brain telling you, I need to know more. So the key is understand why you have it and get a little better each day. Get a little better each day. Rome was not built in a day. It took time. Those pyramids in Egypt took time. They weren't built in a day. The Burj Al Arab in the Middle East was not built in a single day. Nothing good is built in a single day. So it's okay to have a little anxiety. It keeps you sharp. So Jadon, here's what you do, and here's how I treat it. So here you're learning your cloud architect stuff. You're here, you're listening to a car, you're driving, you're learning some stuff good. You watch a video, you learn, you read, you learn. Okay, good. Then while you're reading, let's say you're watching something of mine. Mike talked about this BGP community. What the heck is this BGP community? Google it. And you see what it is, then go to the most authoritative sources. Who are the most authoritative sources? Cisco, Juniper, and the RFCs, the IETF RFCs. Go read that. Guess what? You'll never be nervous about that. No, you'll be nervous about the next thing, I promise you. Keep doing that until you fill it out, and you are going to be great. So that's what I did. It took about 6 months for it to go away, and it went away. But you know what, Jadon? When I went into healthcare, I had the same imposter syndrome too. I got done school, I got a master's degree. Now what? Uh-oh. So I always get this. So most good people I know do have imposter syndrome. So strive to be better, get a little better each day, and it'll go away, and you'll be great. So keep it up. You're doing fantastic. If you have that, it's your brain telling you to learn more. So learn and be curious. Accomplish your dreams and go after it. You're going to do fantastic, Jadon. Love that question. And that's how I dealt with it. But you also have to believe in yourself. And, you know, Jadon, I'm going to do some interviews, some cloud architect and cloud engineer interviews. Watch the interviews. The other thing that killed my imposter syndrome, Jadon, was, you know, I started interviewing people at work. And once I started interviewing people at work, I went, oh my God. So in the modern world, they like to say, hey, it's not cool to compare yourself to your competition. That's crazy. Your hiring manager, it's a competition. Somebody wins. Somebody gets hired and somebody doesn't. It's a competition. So when you know what your competition is and you realize how much better you are than the competition, Jadon, and I promise you, if you study or follow any of our stuff, that will go away instantly. Mark Stepp, hello, sir. You're currently a data analyst, but want to switch to a cloud career. Okay. You see a lot of recommending solutions architects. I see your course is free. Is this the right roadmap for me? Mark Stepp, I don't know what you want to do in the cloud. Do you want to be a data analyst in the cloud? Do you want to be an architect in the cloud? Do you want to be a security person in the cloud, a database person in the cloud? Again, there are thousands and thousands of jobs in the cloud. It's like saying, Mike, I want to go fly somewhere. And I say, where? And I say, just go to the airport. And you say, which plane? And I say, I don't know, just go take one. So tell me the actual career you want, and then I can tell you it will be helpful for you. I'm a network computer technician. What is a good way to become a cloud network engineer? Learn networking heavily. So what's a good way to learn and become a cloud network engineer? The same way you become any other network engineer. It's the same job. It just happens to be in the cloud. So you've got to get some networking knowledge, BGP, OSPF. And I don't mean a little, I mean a lot. So what you need to do is build CCIE level knowledge of BGP, CCNP knowledge of interior gateway protocols such as OSPF. After that, the next thing that you need to do would be to understand switching, and I mean real switching, spanning tree, rapid spanning tree, VLANs, VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking, port channel, ether channel, link aggregation groups, etc., etc., etc. Learn how switches work with their MAC address CAM tables. Learn how we prevent loop avoidance strategies. Learn quality of service at layer 3, like queuing, priority queuing, weighted fair queuing, priority queue, weighted fair queuing, low latency queuing, etc., etc. Learn about things such as rate limiting. Learn NAT, one-to-one NAT, one-to-many NAT, static NAT, dynamic NAT, etc. ARP, proxy ARP, DNS, DHCP, etc., etc., etc. Then get used to configuring all of these things. Get used to route redistributions, route filtering, knowing how and when to change the weight in BGP versus the local preference versus the AS path versus, are you changing the origin code, the multi-exit discriminator, etc., etc. All those kind of things are your networking things. So certifications, like if you had the Cisco Certified Network Professional, that would be somewhat helpful because that's realistically speaking for example, some of those networking things. I would also learn on the cloud, VPCs, the way VPCs are set up, VPC peering, VPC filtering. I'd also learn about firewalls, IDS, IPS systems, VPN concentrators. And I would also get used to WAN technologies, SSL VPNs, IPsec VPNs, Ethernet over MPLS, Ethernet private lines, software-defined networking, and SASE. Those are the skills that you're going to need for that career. Mark Stepp, you've mentioned the name of a certification. That is not a career. So if your goal is to get certified, then that course will get you there. Now, the AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate will have to pass that exam, and of course we'll do it, but will not get you a cloud architect job. I'm going to tell you this, Mark, right now. There is no certification in the world that's going to get anybody a cloud architect job. And that's why we created the Cloud Architect Career Development Program, because certification courses are as follows: the name of a service and how to configure that service. But cloud architects don't configure anything they design. So all certifications for cloud architects are 100% worthless and irrelevant, except for one thing. They do help us get an interview. So what we try to do is as follows. We like to put 2 certifications on the resume to get the interview. But know this, Mark, those certifications are 100% worthless. Otherwise, they don't teach you the career. They have no relationship to the career, and they're all garbage other than they help you get an interview. So the certifications would be the AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate and the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional as your entry-level cloud cert. And then we have to figure out what kind of cloud architect you want to be. Like if you're more interested in networking, get a CCNP with it. If you're interested in security, get a CISSP with it. But get something good from industry. Now, that's just your certification profile, and that will not get you hired. I'm going to tell you that right now. Now, what's going to get you hired is as follows. Now, you could take our Cloud Architect Career Development Program, or you could learn these things on your own. Now, to learn these things on your own, it's going to cost you a lot more than our program, but I don't care. I just want to get you hired. So I'm going to tell you how to do it with us, without us. With us, you take the Cloud Architect Career Development Program, and in about 4 months you've been working in tech, you'll be working as a cloud architect. In about 8 months, if you've never worked in tech, you'll be working as a cloud architect. So that's the easiest way to do it. But if you're not with us, do the following. And it's going to take you about 15,000 pages of reading on the networking side, but that's a start. So learn BGP. Learn on all the ways to tune and manipulate BGP, just like I told the cloud networking guide. Learn interior gateway protocols, such as OSPF. Learn IP addressing, subnetting, supernetting, route summarization, etc. Learn WAN technologies, such as IPsec tunnels, SSL VPNs, Ethernet over MPLS, private lines, software-defined networking, and SASE. Get used to VLANs, VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking, etc. Then get used to spanning tree, rapid spanning tree, etc. NAT, one-to-one NAT, one-to-many NAT, static NAT, dynamic NAT, PAD, etc. All those things, DNS, DHCP, ARP, proxy ARP. So then you need to learn servers and server virtualization, containers and container orchestration, block storage, object storage, file storage, load balancers and the way they work and the way they're architected, firewalls, next generation firewalls, IDS, IPS systems, VPN, concentrators, etc. Industry applications such as ERP applications, CRM applications, and the things that affect business. Now that's on the tech side. On top of that, You will need to know how to sell because you'll be selling things, including billion-dollar solutions. You will have to deliver an executive-ready presentation. And you will have to be CXO relevant, meaning training specifically trained for the CEO versus the CFO versus the CIO versus the CTO. You will need to understand how to present at industry conferences, what's expected to write, to be published in magazine articles and journal articles, which you're going to be doing constantly. And then you will need to know how to lead large teams because you're going to be managing large teams of people. You will have to know how to do what's called the return on investment capital model to show a customer that the value of the solution is and what it does for the business is greater than its cost. Those are the skills to become a cloud architect. Now, on your own, it's going to cost you about $50,000 to learn those skills. And that's why this is not an entry-level job, but we get people hired their first job. We took this $50,000 program, put it together in the Cloud Architect Career Development Program, and then charge a list price of $9.99 with a coupon. So those are the skills you need. That's what I learned. This is what I've helped people get architect jobs for the last 20 years. And that's why students get cloud hired every day as cloud architects. That's what it takes. And you can do it, and it is the best career ever. Okay, I don't have time. I can only do one, maybe two more. So Chris, if you want to bring in one or two more questions, and then we have to stop for the day. Daniel Mitra, based on our recent observations, which is 25 years, how long is the hiring process from architects roles from first interview to start date? And which factors speed up or slow down the process? Daniel Mitra, if you are a technical, highly emotionally intelligent, good executive presence, etc., you're going to get hired on the spot. So Daniel Mitra, I've had 5 jobs in my career, and I've been hired by 3 of them on the spot. If you actually can show them tech skills, leadership skills, sales skills, business skills, it's not uncommon that you go on that first interview and they go, oh my God, and they literally walk you over to the team and they literally close the deal on that. So Cisco normally does 16 cert interviews. I was hired in 2 days. I was hired on a company on Wall Street on the spot. I was hired by MCI WorldCom on the spot, and they usually do 8 weeks of interviews. In fact, General, here's what it was. I went on my interview with WorldCom. I interviewed with the hiring manager and asked for a network engineer job, and he hired me for a senior network engineer job on the spot. So I get out of there and I call the recruiter, hey, Drago, I got to tell you, the interview went great. I got hired, and Drago starts laughing at me. He laughs and he says, Michael, he must have hated you. They do interviews for months and months and months, and they never hire anybody on the spot. So if Devendra said that to you, he probably couldn't wait to get rid of you out of his building. He hated you. And I said, no, Drago, I was there. I read his body language. He's offering me a job. And he told me that he wants to pay me more than I asked for. Drago laughed at me. In fact, he hung up the phone. He said it was the craziest thing he ever had heard. About 8 minutes later, Drago calls me and he says, Mike, I have to apologize to you. He said, you've made history. He said, I've been a recruiter for over 20 years. And the guy told me that you applied for a network engineer job and you were so awesome, he hired you as a senior network engineer. And he told me that you were so good, he was afraid you'd go on a second interview and get hired by the competition. And he hired you right there on the spot. So there's that. So Daniel, attitude. What do employers want? They want the following. Technically competent people that are honest and with good integrity. They want people that know what they know and know what they don't know. They want people that are energetic, enthusiastic, and passionate. They're willing to go above and beyond and be a team player. You do that, you're going to get hired. Now, that's what speeds it up. I'll tell you what slows it down. If when they ask you questions, they're not crisp, you're getting slowed down or not hiring. So the more they like you, the faster the decision is. Or the more they dislike you, the faster the decision is. If it's on the fence where it's like, well, the person might be able to do the job, but can I find somebody better? It can drag out for 10 and 20 different interviews and take months. Because then it's about, well, we don't like anybody, but this is the best of the worst. And that's usually what happens, Daniel Mitra. I hate to say it. It's so hard to find somebody good in tech that if somebody's really good, I don't even let them leave my office because they'll be hired by 10 other people by the end of the day. I'm not joking. They'll be hired by 10 other people by the end of the day. I could get hired by 5 to 10 people. So the key is companies want. They're so tired of techies that just can't talk. Let me out when it's time to do my job. They don't want that. So be likable, energetic, and enthusiastic. Sandra Mitchell, 2 things, keep in the back of your mind. 50% of your scores on your technical competency. 50% sounds like a lot, right? 50% is not. 50% is related to your attitude, your energy, your soft skills, your communication skills, your emotional intelligence, your empathy, your enthusiasm, passion, and your integrity. So maximize that. That's how you maximize it. And Daniel Mitra, which skills do you think pay more? The leadership skills or the tech skills? Well, I got to tell you, it's the leadership skills all day long. So that's what's gets you hard. You got to be solid with the tech. Got to. That's what you do. And Chris, we can ask a little bit of Mark Stepp's question. I don't know if I have time for too much more. If you go with our career development program, what do you put in the resume that gets you credibility? Well, there's a couple of things, Mark. So if you'll notice, if you do a Google search, we're in about 2 to 3 magazine articles per week. And we're there because people write about us because we get so many people cloud hired. In fact, we have so much clout that the average student we have has at least 10 recruiters reach out to them each day that says, I want to talk to you because you're part of Go Cloud Careers. So we don't even have to think about that. Our brand is so strong. And here's the reason our brand is so strong. Our brand is so strong because everybody else is teaching garbage certification and we're teaching architecture. So there's that. So for one, you don't have an issue. You'll get 10 recruiters reach out to you each day. Now, the next thing that you need to deal with is we actually give everybody an internship and they get a cloud architect title under the auspices of Go Cloud Careers. And we give you a set of projects to do that makes you have experience because employers want experience. Now, employers don't care about certification e-course labs. It's worthless and meaningless because here's why. We don't configure any of that stuff. So I do have my students do 25 AWS labs and 25 Azure labs. And here's the reason. Makes them feel good in their mind like they know it. Here's the thing. We don't configure anything. We design, present, and sell. So we did that just to say we did it. Anybody says, have you done this? Where? Yes, I have, part of Go Cloud Careers. But what we do is we create real projects for you. The reason people can't get hired as cloud architects is the following. They're learning the cloud, which you think is the right way to do the job. But here's the problem, Mark. What do we cloud architects do? We take the things from the network and data center and move them to the cloud. So if you only knew the cloud, you can't do the job, but just take the stuff out of the network and data center to move it to the cloud. So the key to the job is actually the network and the data center skills. So what we do is we give everybody a data center access. And our students set up server virtualization for enterprise-wide computing. They set up NFS file storage for enterprise-wide file sharing. Our students set up server message block file shares for enterprise-wide file sharing. Our students set up VPN concentrators for enterprise-wide remote access. Our students design and build firewalls for enterprise-wide security. Our students set up web systems. They set up everything. And then, Mark Step, our students set up Active Directory servers because that's critical knowledge. And then, Mark Step, from scratch, all of my students design and build their own cloud. That's right, you heard me. They design and build their own cloud. So by the time people leave my program, they need 3 programs. They know 3 clouds. They've got a year's worth of experience on their resume. They've got a cloud architect job title on their resume. They've got an alumni network that's incredibly strong, a Slack network, everybody helps each other get jobs. And they've got our resume brand building training, which gets the average person 10 to 15 recruiter requests per day, every day of the week. So for us, it's nothing to get people hired because we do it every single day. We also have 300 recruiters internally that ask us every day, do you have anybody for a job? So that's why we don't have problems getting jobs, because we've trained the right skills. So for us, it's pretty simple. That's why our students get cloud hired every day with or without any tech background. So I hope I answered your question there. Omar Weaver, yesterday's class was great. Thank you so much. You learned a lot. I had a party with it. I love teaching the classes. I love my students, and every day we get better together. It's so much fun. So I hope you all had a wonderful time this morning. Hope we got to answer as many of your questions as possible. Here's the thing. We'll be back live and free on Monday morning. And if those of you want to be cloud architects, come join our cloud architect career development program. None of those guys that want to be, and girls that want to be cloud engineers, take advantage of the last 50% sale on that cloud engineering program. It's going to go away, and it's going to go away fast, and it will never come back again. Super nice to speak to you all today. Everybody, let's get cloud hired. That's why we exist. Let's get cloud hired. Thank you and take care, and look forward to speaking to you soon.